Shavua Tov, Gute Woch. I'm going to tell tonight the second part of the story I began last week about Rabbi Avraham HaMalach's wife. Telling stories of tzaddikim, and particularly related to the Baal Shem Tov, are a sort of many segulas and blessings. And as we are all in a situation of great worry, concern about what's going on, the stories are, if only geographically, very much connected to the source of this big focus of worry, of anguish in the world today. We should focus on asking, through telling the story and listening to the story, for blessings and for peace and all the good things that Hashem can reveal in this world, and turn whatever is bad into whatever should be good. So last week I had told how Rav Avraham HaMalach's wife, being very young, had met this in this dream, in this special, luxurious, very well decorated room, this special trial with this elderly spiritual man who told her that it was time for her husband to go up to heaven. And through her negotiation with them, through her arguing, she convinced them that he should stay in the world for another 12 years. The Maggid of Mesrich congratulated his daughter-in-law for the way she defended her case and got her husband to stay alive 12 more years. Now, tonight's story. So it happened some years later that the Rav HaMaggid, the Maggid of Mesrich, his time in this world finished, and he embraced the life above by giving life to all who are here. What happens is that tzaddik is always in this world, and when he goes up to heaven, he is still giving us his blessing, he is connecting with us. And so is that the Rav Maggid went into this stage. Now, every time that she had problems, or she saw herself in need to solve them, to know what to do, the Rav Maggid would appear to her in dreams, would reveal himself in dreams and tell her, instruct her on what to do. Once, it was Friday night, it was Erev Shabbos, and she was sleeping, and in her dream, her father-in-law, the Maggid of Mesrich, came and told her, tell your husband to switch places with you. They were specially makpid on the separation of a couple. They didn't just have separate beds for the days in which the couple cannot be together. They slept in separate rooms. So the Maggid suggested to switch rooms, or at least that the library, the books that he had, should come to her room. There is a different source where a variation of this story is told, but we're focusing here on the story as told in the Shivchei of Shem Tov. Story number 65. And so, the Maggid tells her to switch rooms, or at least bring his books. And in the morning she tells her husband, and he does not listen. Rav Avraham HaMalach questions her and says, why would he tell you and not me? Now, in the story, it justifies calamities through because of our transgressions. So it says, because of our many transgressions, there was a fire in the room of the Rav Avraham HaMalach that night, and his books, his library went up in flames. He was saved, he got up and left, but his books were burned and lost. Had they listened to the Rav Maggid, the books would have been with her, and they would have been saved as well. After this happened, Moreinu Harav went to, says in the book, the Medina, the city, implying as a city, important city of the region, Hanipol, or Anipoli as it's called here. He moves there with his wife, and then he arrived, he went on into the community of Fastov, where we mentioned in a prior story that he was named Magid Misharim, like the preacher of moral values. Um, and here it mentions that he was accepted with great kavod, with great honor, and he was made Rav of the city. So he was Magid Misharim and Rav of the city of Fastov. And there they established his sikas damim, the agreement of how he was going to be paid his salary. Now he sent a shliach to his wife in Anipoli that she should come by Yamim Noraim. I don't know if it's by or for just the Yamim Noraim, the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. When this shliach arrived to Anipoli, where his wife had stayed, the Rav Magid, the Magid of Mesrich, appeared to her in a dream and told her that she should not go in the car to the community of Chastov, not to join. And so she listened. Next morning, when the shliach, says, "I'm here to pick you up, to take you there," she said, "I'm not going." She refused to go. And there was a rash gadol, a big tumult, a worry among the tzaddikim of the city, specifically the Hasidim, the disciples of the Magid, Moreinu Meshulam Zuzia of Anipoli, the famous Rab Zusha of Anipoli, who signed his approval to the first edition of the Sefer Tanya, and Moreinu Yehuda Lev Cohen. Both of them were worried because the tzaddik, Rav Avraham HaMalach, has made a request and his wife does not want to listen. But she would not listen to them either. Not many days later, again because of our many transgressions, and now speaks in a metaphorical language. The Aron HaKodesh, the godly, holy ark of Torah, doesn't mean the place in the synagogue, but who holds the Torah for the community, the Rav, the Tzaddik, right? Rabbi Avraham HaMalach became hidden from the eyes of the people. It is a metaphorical way to say that Tzaddik is present, but he's hidden. He's no longer physically alive in this world in a bodily sense. So in that community in Chavastov, meaning Fastov, he passed away. And the shliach was sent to the Kehila of Anipoli, Kehilas Kodesh Anipoli, to bring the news to his wife. But the tzaddikim were ashamed to go and face her after she had been able to foresee things better than they did. She had a reason not to go to Fastov, what the Maggid told her, but they realized she sees things that we don't. She's in a different level. So they only dare give the news to her son, who was still little, Rav Shalom, so that he would be able to say Kaddish for his father. But they didn't want him to reveal this to his mother. But with her great chokhmah, her great wisdom, she realized that something is up. Her son was not so adamant to get up in the mornings and go to synagogue, to the early minyan. She realized he's up every morning, he's going. And she went to synagogue. There was not only a women's gallery, but the women's section was like a separate room, so she had to put her ear against the wall to hear that Kaddish Yasum, the Kaddish of the orphans, is being said in a very low voice, like he doesn't want his mother to realize what's going on. Even though she couldn't hear it clear, she realized, and after the tefillah, after the davening of the prayers, she comes to her son and says, "What's up? Why are you hiding your words? Do you think that behind this wall I would not hear when you recited Kaddish Yasum, the Kaddish of the orphan?" The child was forced to confess the truth, to reveal the truth to her. And so she sat in Shiva in mourning for 7 days. And after these 7 days, she went to the community of Chavastov, meaning Fastov, to pick up the belongings of her husband. And she was welcomed there with great honors. In that Shabbat, in that Shabbos, they made a special dedicated dinner or meal in her honor in the inn of the town. And the people of the town came to honor her, to welcome her, and to present her consolations. But to that, there was no success. She was not consoled. She was still very anguished and by what happened, by the passing of her husband. By the third mitzvah of Shabbos, so the Shalishidus, as it's called, the entire community came to that inn, to that achsania, and they sang the nigun and the songs that are usually sung by then, and she was in such anguish, so sad, that she left the room and went to lay down in the bed of the owner of the inn, and there she fell asleep late Shabbos afternoon. And as she fell asleep, she had a dream, and in her dream she saw again this big, elegantly decorated room, and at the door was her husband, Moreinu Avraham haMalach, and there was this light coming from him like the sun of midday. He smiled, and there he welcomed these honorable elderly men, and he told them, "Shvu Raboisai, my masters, sit down." And he addressed them in front of her, around the table, and he says, "Here is my wife, may she live a long life. She has a taina, a aggravation, holds a grudge against me, because for my reasons, to keep my kedusha, my sanctity, I kept this extreme abstinence. And her complaint is just. She's right. So first, I want to ask for mechila, for forgiveness, in front of you." She stood up and she immediately says that I forgive you with my entire heart, with my whole heart. You're forgiven. And then he said, the Torah allows her to marry another husband, especially since she is only 24 years old. Remember, she married very, very young, age 12. They were together 12 years, as she coordinated, she negotiated that he should stay alive. So now she's 24 and she's a widow, so she's, allowed to get remarried, and I cannot prevent her from doing so. But if she accepts not to marry anyone else, I make a commitment in front of this Besdin to satisfy her material needs. And before she comes home, all our children, each of our children will have an ensured good life. Good news will come to them. And she felt relief and consoled by his words, and her face lost the anguish expression, I guess. The anguish expression. When she came back home, she received shidduchim proposals for her children, for her son and daughters, and she got a great blessing from Hashem for all Maaseh Yadeya, for all the words of her hand. She had parnasa, she made a living from a store where she was able to sell merchandise, and her needs were met through that income. And whenever it was necessary, her father-in-law, the Rav HaMagid, the Magid of Mesrich, will appear to her in a dream and advise her and tell her what to do. Many years later, the wife of Moreinu Harav Menachem of Chernobyl, the one who's telling the story to the author of the book, passed away. So Rav Menachem Nachum thought of marrying the widow of Rav Avraham haMalach, and he consulted with the son of Rav Avraham haMalach, with Moreinu Harav Shalom, which we mentioned before, was still young, and he thought it was a good idea. So Rav Menachem Nachum asked him to go speak with his mother. Now, in the way, Rav Shalom had a dream. And his dream, he is in this great, nice, decorated, luxurious room, which I have mentioned already a few times in the story. And there was his father, Avraham haMalach. May Hashem bless the memory of the just. Zotzal. And he was standing up by the door with his hands raised to the ceiling. In a very loud voice he said, "Who is it that has the idea to enter my traklin, my salon, my special room?" When the son woke up, he understood the meaning, the end of these things, and went home in peace. As history has it, that marriage did not happen, but the Reb Shalom mentioned here would end up marrying the daughter of Reb Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl. And somebody correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that their son was Reb Yisrael, the Ruzhiner, called the Heilige Ruzhiner, the Holy Ruzhiner. And so is the story of this week. We will continue with another story by next week. Shavua Tov, a gute Woche.